on these centralized mechanisms, and there are some sort of what we call as difficulties or drawbacks of the existing centralized solution, because you see that these solutions may have a centralized controller, and this centralized controller may have a single point of failure, and it also generate a lot of overhead. So to cope up with these issues, peoples are shifting towards adoption of distributed technologies, and that distributed technology is based upon blockchain technology. So from this particular figure even itself, you will see that on the left hand side we have that how number of devices are going on increasing in 2020 itself, and how these we can say number of devices are generating huge amount of data, and this huge amount of data leads to the evaluation of different types of technologies over the era. So you see that earlier we talk about mainframe computing, then we are talking about client server, grid computing, utility computing, cloud computing, fog computing, and nowadays we are talking about blockchain technology. So this from where this revolution has been evolved, or from where this evaluation has been changed, the new computing paradigm in nowadays is based upon the left hand side of this figure, which shows that there is a huge amount of data that has been generated from different devices, and there are a number of we can say pupils that are interconnected with each other using internet, and these we can say pupils are interconnected with each other, and they are using a large number of smart devices which are interconnected and generating a huge amount of data. Not only this, you see that nowadays people are talking about smart city environment, and in this smart city environment we have different role players, and these role players maybe your connected planes, maybe your public safety, intelligent buildings, smart hospital, sorry, sorry, smart cars, smart grid, sensors, or we have connected factories. So all these different environments are generating a huge amount of data, and this huge amount of data obviously will be traveled through the open channel, that is through the internet. So that's why security becomes one of the paramount concern in front of the research community. So there are some certain we can say postulates of blockchain technology, and one of the most popular postulates in the blockchain technology is how efficiently we can use a data structure, because you see there are billions or trillions of transactions and a huge amount of data that is to be stored. So we require an efficient traversing of that transactions which are to be committed in blockchain networks. Apart from this, we should also have an efficient searching mechanism or efficient searching algorithms which will keep track of indexing, and we can be able to handle it out, that how the different data items can be searched it out using some efficient searching mechanisms. So apart from traversing and searching, we should also have a good we can say operations or good strategies, that how to insert different data items into blockchain networks, and also obviously the deleting portion should also be there. So all types of we can say primitive operations that a data structure needs to be performed on the data items or transactions or intercorrelated transactions is correlated with respect to the usage of data structures is becomes a paramount concern, because you are dealing with billions of trillions of transactions on a blockchain networks, and indexing of all those data items along with traversing and searching needs to be done. So that's why the importance of data structure becomes a paramount concern, that which type of data structure needs to be used and how this data structure can be used for storing, searching, traversing, or insertion and deletion operation on the blockchain networks. So in this regard, not only these operations but also sorting and merging operation should also be performed on this data structure and on this particular part in a blockchain network. So as a part of verification and validation, One of the most important data structure that has been used is Merkle hash tree. So Merkle hash tree is also known as hash tree. So why it is called a hash tree? Because it does not store the actual data, but hash value of the data needs to be stored. And it is easy to define a hash function, and using that hash function, we can easily trace out different types of transaction, and we can make a synchronization among the different data items that are available on the blockchain networks in a hash tree. So in this hash tree, all the leaf nodes are at the same depth, and a hash functions obviously maps any length of input string to the fixed length output, and this output is again is called a hash function. So usually what happens that in case of Merkle hash tree, it will work like this. Like for example, if we will have these number of transactions that are located on one level, so we apply hash function for this transaction, we apply hash function for this transactions, then we apply for the hash function for this transaction. Similarly, once you can have the hash value of this transaction at one level, then the hash value of this transaction at one level. So these hash values are again hash, and we get it out new hash value. So similarly, from this level again we will apply the hash value or hash function, and we will get the new hash, and then this hash, both of these hash value then again will be applied a new hash function, and we get the next hash value. So this is called as root of the hash tree, or Merkle root hash tree. So at this root we will have the hash value associated for these types of transactions. So this is just like a code, and these all these codes are arranged in a hierarchical organizations. And using this hierarchical organization, obviously you can easily trace it out different types of transactions. So for example, if you want to trace out a transaction at this level, so you define a hash function accordingly and directly map the value associated for a particular lookup operations on this hash value or hash code, and then there is no need for hierarchical organizations, or we can say tracing out the transactions or data item in a sequential manner. Rather than we can trace it out by defining a suitable hash function, and using that hash function we will be able to trace out that which particular transaction has been we can say committed at what particular instance of time. So that's the beauty of this verification and validation process of this Merkle hash tree, which is one of the premier data structure that had been used for verification and validation of different types of transaction on a blockchain networks. So I have already told you that how this Merkle hash tree will work it out, and that tree structure allow an efficient mapping of huge amount of data, and small changes that is made to data can be also visually identified, and this root hash tree is used to as the fingerprint for the entire data items. So this Merkle hash tree had been used in a distributed system where the same data item should exist in multiple places and maintains data integrity part, and it is used to check out the inconsistency in data item, which is used in Bitcoin for proof of work or consensus mechanism in blockchain technology. So most of the times you see that we talk about blockchain networks, which is used to store the data items on the networks itself. But for storing the data items on the blockchain networks, we require a file system that is called IPFS, that is Interplanetary File System, which is a peer-to-peer version control content address file system. So this file system is used in distributed hash tables for maintaining the data at different locations. So you can visualize the uses of this IPFS just like this. For example, we will have this type of blockchain networks in which we have some nodes which are acting as a leader node, and some of the nodes which are acting as a follower node. So in this leader and follower node, you can see that these nodes are just like your IoT devices node. Like they may be some sensors, there may be some actuators, PD, or some other devices, they can perform some computation task. And during the computation of this task, obviously they will share the data with each other. And this data that may be located on different nodes, each node will keep track of its own record of transactions or data items which are to be we can say which are to be placed on these blockchain networks for computation task. And this type of repository where each node maintain its own repository for maintaining all those types of transactions which are to be committed, or all those types of data items which are needs to be maintained, is a unique feature of this interplanetary file system. And if any nodes request some data from this interplanetary file system, then some lookup operation may be initiated by this node, and then that data may be located either on this node, or that may be located on this node, or some other nodes, or because all of these nodes are interconnected with some blockchain network. So that data items can be trace it out using some lookup operation, and after this data item has been traced it out, so this data item will be revert back to this demanding node or requesting node. So this is a very simple mechanism in the sense that if we have to trace it out any data items, or we can say any file system from this blockchain network, so this can be done very efficiently in these blockchain networks. So as I have already told you that there are two types of approaches broadly which can be used in the for verification and validation process or any IoT system. So one approach is based upon centralized architecture or centralized framework, and second approach is based upon distributed networks or distributed framework. So blockchain is based upon this distributed framework, because you see that in this case each of these node maintain its own set of transactions which are to be committed or on its own database, own file system. And here we have a centralized repository, like for example this centralized repository is CA, that is centralized authority. So if I have to make some conversation from here with this particular person, so I have to take the certificate from the centralized authority. Sorry. So this centralized authority will generate some certificates with some timestamp, and after verification and validations, these two entities can communicate with each others. But here it is not there. No centralized authority or third party authentication mechanism is there. So all of these stakeholders are the validators for the transactions which are to be committed on these blockchain networks, because you see that
Hello. Hello. You are not audible, sir.
these number of users. Hello. These number
You
of
are audible.
users. Okay. So these number of users are located across different geographical location, and all are stakeholders. Networks.
Hello.
Okay. So you see that these blockchain, these transactions are to be verified and validated using some blockchain networks in a centralized manner. So which can be used for verification and validation processes. So so you in distributed framework, it is very important that all the smart contract which has been designed, like for example at here we need to design some smart contract. So smart contract is nothing but it is just like a contract. Like a contract is nothing but some sort of agreement between users and service providers. So there are two types of contracts rather. So one contract that we can sign it out by physical signing of between two parties, and second contract is your digital contract. So this digital contract is based upon digital signature which are generated from these end users. So there is a little bit difference between this physical contract and this smart contract. So in case of physical contract, it will take some time for verification and validations, and it is a manual process which needs to be get it signed by all the parties or all the stakeholders. While in case of digital signature, while in case of smart contract, you see that the digital signature of all these users can be used for verification and validation process, because digital signature itself is a mark of the identity of a particular person. So if we have a digital signature of this particular person, so we can specify his identity. So smart contract is a very flexible and easy process for verification and validations of the transactions which are to be committed in a blockchain network. So you see that based upon this simple concept, the blockchain technology has been evolved back in 2008, which is a peer-to-peer electronic caching system, and is based upon digital signature. So as I have already told you that digital signatures are based upon some cryptographic mechanism, and using that cryptographic mechanism we can sign it out, and it is based upon peer-to-peer networks, and we proof of work has been used, and nodes vote with CPU computing power. So whosoever has more CPU computing power, so that node will be used or may be used for leader node, and rest of the nodes will act as a just follower for that particular node. So after that, after this 2008, there are number of Bitcoin transactions, and the evaluation of Bitcoin has been rises, and in 2009 some other Genesis block was established. Then the other we can say other types of digital currencies are also into market, and the Bitcoin transactions and this blockchain evaluation has been get started. So Bitcoin is basically created through a digital mining process, and it is just like an electronic asset, just like a digital currency. So the file that contains the history of about all the Bitcoin transactions is just like a ledger, and each node had its own ledger to keep track of that how many number of transactions are committed, and what type of transaction has been committed, and when those types of transactions have been committed. So it will keep track of all types of history of the transaction which are to be made in a Bitcoin transaction. So the simplest mechanism will look like this. So for example, if we have two persons, person A and person B, so I want to transfer some money to this particular person in a digital form. So what happens in this case is that first I will transfer the money to my money transmitters, and then it in whatever currency I want to pay it out. So after this money transmitter, there is a money exchanger is there, so it will exchange its equivalent Bitcoin. So I have transferred the money in dollars, and then equivalent Bitcoin will be issued to me. And after these Bitcoin, I have these Bitcoins, so I will transfer these Bitcoins to this person B, and there is a money exchanger between this. So after this, whenever this money exchanger or broker is there, it will remit that Bitcoins equivalent into my bank account with the home currency in my home country itself. So this is a very simplified mechanism using which we can say that these types of conversation or these types of transactions which has been initiated by this particular persons get back to this particular person B through some intermediate we can say intermediate we can say platform, and this intermediate platforms is used to get into exchange of the money exchanger for the transactions which are to be sent it out from sender to receivers on the blockchain networks. So let's check it out, a very simple mechanism like Bitcoin cryptocurrency. So for example, Bob wants to have Alice money for lunch. He install an app on his smartphone to create a new Bitcoin wallet. A wallet app is just like a mobile banking app, and to pay her, he needs two pieces of information: his private key, right, and her public key. So both information needs to be there. So Bob gets Alice's public key. He gets its public key by scanning QR code from her phone, or by having her email him the payment address, a string of, and then the app alerts the Bitcoin miner around the world the impending transactions. Miner provide uh, transaction verification services, and the miner verify that Bob has enough Bitcoin to make the transactions. And finally, many transactions in the network at the same time. Uh, all the pending transactions in a given time frame are grouped in a block for verification, and each block has a unique identity number or creation time and reference to the previous block. So this Bitcoin transaction or Bitcoin cryptocurrency we are already using in our daily life with the help of QR code, because we are using the public key of that particular person to whom I want to transfer the money. So by taking out the public key or QR code, we are able to transfer the amount to that particular person uh, into his account itself. So there are certain consensus mechanisms are also there which are used for verification of the transactions data between the nodes. So first is BFT, that is an agreement protocol which helps to tolerate the uh, uh, Byzantine failure in the networks. BFT maintains the reliable record transaction in transaction transparent and template proof manner. And second is PBFT. This consensus mechanism is used when BFT fails to tolerate the fault. And then we have proof of work, which is the original consensus mechanism that is used to verify the transaction and produce no blocks in the blockchain networks. This is used for mining process that's used in cryptocurrency. So apart from this, we have proof of stake is also there. DPoS is also there. Proof of burn is also there. So there are number of consensus mechanisms. Proof of ownerships are there, and proof of space is also there. So apart from this, there is a Ripple is there, which is based upon some consensus algorithms that handles the generalized Byzantine problem and is used to maintain the distributed database across the network. So there are a number of, we can say, consensus mechanism that may be available for verification and validations of this blockchain networks. So to execute this, we can say consensus mechanism, we require various types of platform which can be used to create or verify the block and the transactions which are part of the block. So Ethereum is one such platform, which is a decentralized platform that runs smart contract applications. So it runs as a program in the application without any modification of the fraud or censorship. And then our Hyperledger is also there, which is a collaborative open source development approach that ensures the transparency and interoperability. Corda is there, multi-chain is there. Then we have Hydra chain, Open Chain, IBM blockchain platform. IOTA is also there, so which is again open source distributed framework which is used to power the future resource constrained IoT devices with data integrity capability using directed acyclic graph, DAG graph, using DAG. So we also have some open source platform, that is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Quorum, Stellar, that are used to transfer the money in a very efficient, reliable, and secure manner, and based upon peer-to-peer technology in which every participant in the distributed Bitcoin technology without any centralized control, and all of them are reliable in the sense that most of these protocols are used for verification and validations using Merkle hash tree, which is one of the most efficient way of verification and validations of different transactions as a part of block. So not only this, we also have some cryptographic mechanisms that are available for verification and validations of these transactions. So like SHA-256 algorithm is there, which is used to find out the hash value of different transactions which are used to become part of the blockchain networks. Apart from this, we also have Ethash is there, which is again a hashing algorithm that is used in Ethereum because of its resilience. And this ASIC for Ethcash was developed by Bitmain, which uses a dataset of 1 GB in the form of DAG and a cache of 16 MB for light client. So DAG of Ethash is sliced up and stored with miners of the blockchain. So there are a number of, I mean to say here, there are a number of cryptographic primitives which can be used for verification and validations of different types of transactions, and which are used for verification and validations of different blocks also, which are supposed to become the part of the blockchain networks. So all these cryptographic uh, mechanisms are based upon cryptographic signatures, and these cryptographic signatures which are used in blockchain are based upon elliptical curve digital signature algorithms. So it is basically use elliptical curve cryptography that is used by Bitcoin to ensure that only legitimate users can update or access the blockchain. Apart from this, you see that elliptical curve is based upon the theory of elliptical curve. Like for example, I will show you some slides here which are used uh, based upon the string theory, and to get it out some attack on the blockchain networks, we need to break the elliptical curve, which is very difficult to break out elliptical curve in polynomial time. So that's why this particular type of problem is called as a discrete logarithmic digital signature problem. So which is very difficult for the algorithms, which is very difficult for the algorithm or the attacker, sorry, to find out an efficient algorithm in polynomial time to break out a digital signature based algorithm. So that's why you see most of the elliptical curve contains digital signatures which are based upon we can say polynomial time based complexity, and which is based upon the digital signature. So not only this, we also have one time signature. This approach is used to secure the keys of group by enabling the usage of one by ones by any of the group members. And also we have the concept of multi-signature based scheme, where multiple authorities or multiple users can create one signature, which is so that verification and validations of a particular process can be done. So how this blockchain has been used in different applications, and how it is used to solve the problems for different applications. So from this particular figure you can see that there are a number of applications, like airport records is there, we have bank records is there, port at records is there, ocean carrier records are there, authority record is there. So all these types of different types of applications are generating a huge amount of data, and this huge amount of data has been generated or placed on this blockchain networks. So once this data has been placed on the blockchain networks, so you can see that all are interconnected by some all are interconnected by some means using an internet connections. And if let's say some attacker has attack on this blockchain networks, and he breach the integrity or authenticity of the message which is being transmitted between the different applications or these different devices, then it will be very difficult to trace it out. But with the help of blockchain, as you see that all the blocks contains some sort of verification or timestamp mechanism using which we can trace it out that when and where that attack had been launched it out, and each of these attack or attackers can be identified with the help of digital signature, which is being a part of the blockchain networks for verification and validation process. So it also changes the way in which we can think it out, that because we see the earlier part of doing the business is just like this, where we have a centralized authority. From this centralized authority, all the party can take or communicate with each other. But now with the inception of smart contract and distributed ledgers, this technological revolution has been there, where we have a distributed mechanism, and using this distributed mechanism, these different parties like party A, party B, auditor, bank, they are all are secured using digital signed encrypted transactions and ledgers, and all the parties have the same replica of the ledger. So this particular type of scenario has been shown, that where we have different blocks which have been created, and these blocks are connected using digital signatures, and these blocks are connected using digital signatures, and using those digital signatures we can verify and validate the transactions in an efficient manner. So but question here is that why we require a distributed ledger. So the answer to this particular question would be look like this, like we have a bank, we have different clients, client A, B, C, D. So if by some chance there has been some sort of fault on the centralized system, then it is very difficult to recover from the centralized system. And moreover, you can see that there is a heavy load on the centralized architecture. It has to verify and validate a number of transactions. So it will generate extra cost in maintaining the transactions, and it also generate a huge overhead on the existing network infrastructure. So to cope up with this issue, distributed architecture has been evolved, where you can see that different types of nodes are interconnected with each other, and each of these nodes are correlated with each other for verification and validation process of the transactions which are supposed to become a part of the blockchain networks. So here we have a single entity, here we have a multiple entities that are participating in this blockchain networks. Here we have a single entities that is used to take care of the whole number of verification and validation process. But here verification and validation process needs to be done by all the stakeholders using smart contract. So that's why all of these are stakeholders, and they are used for verification and validation of the transactions. So from this particular part, till now, if you have any questions, so you can put it out so that we have any discussion. Okay, I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So
Anything?
in nutshell, we can say that if we have to define the blockchain, then blockchain is nothing but it's a public distributed ledger or registry, or we can say in which a number of transactions between the users that are belonging to the same network that are stored in a secure, variable, and permanent way. The data related to the exchanges are saved inside the cryptographic blocks, and these blocks are interconnected with each other in a hierarchical manner. So this will an endless chain of data blocks. So it is a chain of data blocks which are interconnected with each other, and
त्यांनी साऊंड मोठं करायचं.
so this blockchain allow you to trace and verify all the transactions that you have ever made. So it can be used for verification and validations of the transaction using digital currency and Bitcoin in particular. So there are a number of characteristics that are available for blockchain. Like for example, it is a decentralized database repository. It is based upon digital signatures. It consisting of chronicle and some timestamps associated with this blockchain. It is irrevocable and auditable. So we can make some verifications and validations for this transactions. So that's why auditable in the sense that we can verify the transactions when and where the transactions has been committed, and it is reduce the dependency on the third party. It is cryptographically secure, it is transparent and verifiable, and it is distributed in the nature. So there are two types of blockchain basically. One is private, second is public. So one is called as permission based, second is called as a permissionless. So permission based is private blockchain that have some level of control and can suffer from the problem of centralized networks, while permissionless networks like Bitcoin, anyone can be validators, and anyone can read the transactions and help and verify the transaction and create the smart contract. So they just have to follow the rules of the networks. All you have to do in this case is to avail your processing power. So if you have more computing power, then you have a full control to take care of the transactions which are to be committed or transactions which are supposed to become a part of the blockchain networks. So I mean to say here you have a controller in your hand to take intelligent decisions with respect to the inclusion of certain transactions in a block and block into the network itself. So blockchain functions basically consisting of to create and verify the transactions. So like in the case of Bitcoin, the blockchain serves to verify the exchange of cryptocurrency between two users, but it is only one of the many possible uses of technological advances. So not only this, it has the greatest advantages where it has a high level of high degree of security, and once the transaction is certified and saved within one of the chain block, so it can no longer be verified or tampered with. So each block consisting of pointers that connect it to the previous pointer. So a timestamp that certifies the time at which the event actually took place and the transactions data. So blockchain is responsible basically to provide secrecy and privacy to the users using some cryptographic system which authenticates the communication between the nodes. So a blockchain is nothing but is a chain of digital signature which are comprising of nodes which are connected to each other in a mesh-like topology. So it is based upon peer-to-peer technology. So this is just like the schematic diagram of the blockchain network. So it consisting of several steps. So for example, in the initial steps, users initiate the transactions using their digital signatures. Then they broadcast their transactions to the nodes. Then one or more nodes which begin validation of the process of the transactions, and then nodes aggregate the validated transaction into the block. Then nodes broadcast the blocks to each other, and then consensus protocols uses that particular mechanism for verification and validations of the blocks as well as for the transactions. And finally, block reflecting true state is changed to the blocks itself. So block verification needs to be done with respect to the elliptical curve digital signature algorithms. So this is used for creating the digital signature of the data to verify its authenticity without compromising its security. So it does not actually encrypt the data, but also protect the data and to make sure data does not tamper. And it uses the SHA-1 algorithm to sign the message. So basically, how this elliptical curve distributed signature algorithm will work it out. So elliptical curve will look like this. So it consisting of that we can choose any point on this curve. Let's say we choose this point 1 at here. Then the attention of the attacker would be look like this, that he has to find it out the mirror image of this point here. So it depends upon how many number of steps he has to take it out to find the image of this point at here. So he has to cover this point of time to cover to find out the image of this point on here. So it will be very difficult for him in polynomial time to find out the image of this point at here. So that's why you can see that there is a provision of public key and generator part. So public key would be used to generate generate the identity of this users, and generator is used to generate the key associated with that. So with the help of this public key and then with the help of this generator and this private key, we can generate the value associated hash to point on this elliptical curve. So using this hash to point elliptical curve, we can generate the key which is used to encrypt or decrypt the data. So this is the simplest mechanism that has been used by elliptical curve digital signature algorithms for finding out the valid point on this elliptical curve, which are being used for verification and validation processes. So proof of work is the original algorithm that had been used for verification and validations of block, and mining itself is a complex process which are used to demonstrate that how they can validate the transaction blocks. So miners are rewarded if they perform verification. So as the complexity increases in the mining process, the power of consumption also increases. So this is a simplest mechanism in which the various steps that needs to be performed, like verify and validate the transactions. So overall structure of blockchain would look like this. It consists of basically different types of blocks, and these blocks are interconnected using some digital signatures, and these digital signatures are used to connect different blocks. So in each blocks we have some set of transactions like here, and this set of transactions will become as a part of the block once this has been verified and validated. So after verification and validations of these transactions, this needs to be verified by all the participating authority, and once all the participating authority verify and validate the transactions, they are supposed to become the part of the blockchain. In this particular block, you see we have taken the hash value of the previous block. So this is just like a hierarchical organization of different blocks. So once a block has been verified, then its hash value has been sent to the next block, and this hash value will be sent to the next block, and the process goes on like this. So so a blockchain networks would consist of basically this type of structures. So this consisting of nodes as well as ledgers. So these ledgers are used to keep track of transactions. So these nodes are supposed to become as a part of this ledgers. These ledgers are used to keep track of transactions, and these transactions are used to keep track of how these transactions are verified and validated in these blockchain networks. So each node maintains its own ledger that keep track of the transactions which are to be committed or which has been committed by these nodes. So this is a very simplified mechanism where all the participating nodes keep track of its own ledgers in a blockchain networks. And there are basically different types of nodes in a blockchain. One is minor node, second is normal node. So minor node is central entity between device and network. It is used for authentication, authorization, and auditing of the transactions. And normal nodes that contain the full copy of the complete blockchain. So blockchain can be used for businesses also. So where we can design our own smart contract, where we can design our consensus algorithm, which is used to maintain the privacy and authenticities, and the ledger that is used to take care of is shared ledger between the different devices. So smart contract, again, it is a true benefit for the blockchain because it consisting of we can say a set of software codes with component designed to automate the execution of and settlement, and is applicable layer that make much of the benefit of the blockchain technology in a reality. Though smart contract is simple, basically consist of let's say multi-party smart contract is consisting of basic smart contract. It may be have a distributed autonomous business unit, it may have distributed autonomous organization, it may be distributed autonomous government agency, distributed autonomous society, it may consisting of smart right, etc., etc. So I mean to say here there may be a smart contract among number of peoples that we are going to perform this type of task. So it is just like a legal document that between two parties that can be used for verification and validations at the later stages once we have committed different types of transaction in a particular organization. So I mean to say here that whenever you scan some QR code, so you are taking the public key of that particular person or organization or society or a particular government organization. So once you have taken the public key, then using that public key, we will be able to verify and validate all those types of transaction in a blockchain network. So, like for example, if we talk about two types of smart contract, one is traditional and second is smart contract. So in case of traditional contract, you can see that we have to spend some few days for signing out the traditional contract, but in case of smart contract, it's just a digital signature based contract system, so it will take only few minutes. And here we have to do manual remittance, here we have automatic remittance of whatever the amount you want. Here we have escrow necessaries there, where here escrow may not be necessary, it is quite expensive process, it is cost is quite less. Here we require the physical presence of the person, which is a wet signature. Here we require a virtual presence, that is digital signature is there. Lawyers are necessary. Here lawyers may not be necessary. So blockchain networks consisting of basically signing out smart contract. Using that smart contract, we can make out the transactions to a particular person, which is fully secure, and obviously we can design a private blockchain or public blockchain and then write out our own smart contract in Solidity or some other languages. So blockchain consisting of hyperledgers, that is are the network services that maintain the ledger's state and run smart contracts. Channels are defined subset of the peer network that share the simple ledger. Certificate authority provides the identity services to participate on the networks itself. So there are different types of actors in the blockchain part. So that may consisting of blockchain network operator, that may consisting of traditional processing platform, traditional data sources, member services, regulatory services, blockchain architecture, blockchain developers. So all these types of blockchains consisting of different types of role players in the sense that they are the whole we can say entities which can be used or which can use to make an impact on this emerging technology on the blockchain networks. So we have now we reach to a part where we can have a different communities on the blockchain, like consortium based networks may also be there, founder director networks is there, community based networks is also there. So are example of this blockchain networks. So there are a number of applications for the blockchain. So first and foremost is the financial services, like you have to have asset management, you have insurance claiming processing, you have cross-border payments. All are example of this financial services. There may be a smart property also, means money lending is there, smart car is there, smartphone is there, IoT based applications, smart applications, supply chain sensors are there, healthcare, smart healthcare is there, personal healthcare record maintaining, access control, healthcare management, insurance processing, smart governance is there, electronic passport, birth, wedding, or some other certificates, personal identification, smart communities. So there are number of applications which can be used for in a blockchain networks, and it has been used in an emerging technology for the future applications in any networks. And there are number of organizations which are already shift their business to the blockchain networks. Like for example, you can visualize from this slides that how many number of organizations are already dipped their feet in this blockchain networks, and they are already using this blockchain networks in an organization. So there are public sectors are also using of blockchains. There are a number of public systems is also there that are using blockchain networks. And food or trust safety is also there, that how we can make it out the food security mechanism. Like for example, there may be some different service providers and consumers are there, and in between this we have a fully customized and automated system. Like for example, we have farm, we have processor, we have distributor, we have retailer. So you have three steps or four steps mechanism where we have the actual grower of this food and actual retailers is there. So in between this we have two, we can say, brokers are there. So the task of these brokers is to take money for transferring money from this farmer to this retailer itself. But with the inception of this blockchain networks, this type of mechanisms maybe I mean to say here maybe automated, in the sense that here we can check it out the actual price of that that items or commodity from this particular point once that data has been placed on the blockchain networks. So global trade digitalization is also there, as it is a part of this blockchain networks. And GTD platform has already been incepted. Asset management is also one of the aspect where we can trace it out each asset starting from producer to the consumers, that and in between this, I mean to say here that in between this tracking of a particular data items from a particular locations can also be done with the help of blockchain networks. Financial services is also there, where we have different banks, that is sending bank and receiving bank, and in between this there is a Ripple is there, which is used to get settled down the best rate from the market, and markets are updated and transaction details are updated in their distributed ledgers using Ripple. So this is a very simple mechanism that has been designed for the future. That is how we can have a peer-to-peer electricity trading mechanism using energy coins. So uh, this is also, I mean to say here, mm, can be used for energy trading between electric vehicles and data centers, and also this centralized point. So this will be also be a good good, we can say, mechanism, or we can say good example that how this blockchain technology can be used for energy trading between smart grid and electric vehicles. So these electric vehicles, you see, they can transfer the energy from one end to the another end, or they can share the energy with each other in a peer-to-peer manner. But with the help of blockchain networks or blockchain coin, These electric vehicles can be used. These electric vehicle can act both as a buyer as well as a consumer for energy between these types of scenario. So not only this, data sharing in healthcare is also can be used by blockchain networks. So all data related to a particular person that can be put on the blockchain, and doctors can access that particular data by from this his remote, we can say handheld devices, and using that handheld devices, he or she can monitor the progress of the patient, that whether a particular patient has been fully recovered from a particular disease or not. So that's the beauty of this particular blockchain network, that by sitting out a doctor sitting out at a remote location can diagnose the particular persons, and the data associated by that particular person is also critically sensitive, so that he can design or his new solutions, or we can say he can recommend some medicines to that particular persons also from remote site. Similarly, the smart grid, in future we can have the smart meters outside our home. So these smart meters can take the energy and revert back the energy. So they can also be used. Data generated from these smart devices can also be placed on the blockchain network, and using blockchain we can make some sort of negotiation between them. So last part is government sector is also using the blockchain, because government sector consisting of various types of, we can say, stakeholders or various types of communities. So all these communities can generate a huge amount of data which can be placed on the blockchain networks also. So this is just a glimpses of this new and emerging technology which is called as blockchain networks. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture, and if you have any query, so kindly raise your query.
Anything query, anything questions from participant side?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, sir. I hope all participant concept is clear. Thank you very much, Neeraj sir, for giving a very informative session. Whatever you shown examples, government sectors and healthcare, all these examples are really very informative, and definitely we will work on it. And thanks a lot, sir, for
Thank you.
accepting my invitations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Hello, hello, uh, hello. Good evening, all participants. Hello.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Actually, ma'am, sorry for the delay of our third session, because there is some technical issues from speaker side. Hello. And actually, feedback link and attendance link is also shared on WhatsApp group, as well as on chat box, as well as I will mail you after 5-10 minutes. Kindly fill it. And again, I request you, already I shared you final participant list. 184 people's participant is there. uh, these are the participant who applied from AICT Atal portal, and then I approved it. Anything questions from participant side? Thank you, thank you. Tomorrow we will start our session on the same time, on the same link, 10:30 a.m. with our next speaker, Dr. Rakesh Tripathi sir, who is working as a professor in NIT Raipur.